I think this is on. Can everybody hear me? Okay, just give me a thumbs up. Let me just come back. Okay, great. Thank you. A little bit louder. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. Can you hear me now? Is that good? Okay. Welcome, family and friends of William Lee. I extend my deepest condolences and sympathies to all of you. My name is Lori, and I am a chaplain with St. Croix Hospice. My coworkers and I had the honor of serving Bill and his family during the last year and a half of his life. Please join me at this time for an opening prayer. Gracious God, we ask your presence and blessing upon this time as we honor the remarkable life that Bill lived. Our hearts grieve at his loss, yet there is comfort in knowing he is at eternal rest in your presence. May your comfort and peace be with us all. Amen. At this time, I would like to recognize a very special lady that is here, and that is Mrs. Freeman, right here. Mrs. Freeman is also a resident here of Schmidt-Woodland Hills, but she has the distinct honor of being one of Bill's grade school teachers way back when. And many of us have heard the stories of Mrs. Freeman. My coworkers and I in hospice heard wonderful stories and memories from Bill himself about Mrs. Freeman. So Mrs. Freeman, thank you for being here. Your presence is an honor. Thank you. At this time then, we will have a song. It is Simple Gifts. It is a song that was a favorite of Bill's during his youth. So please enjoy. Thank you for that lovely song. And Bill truly was a gift to us all, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. Well, I would like to share at this time just a reflection of the time that my colleagues and I shared with Bill. So these are kind of reflections of hospice memories of Bill. And as hospice workers, we enter our patient's world at the very end of a beautiful life, where life has been lived, love has been shared, and legacy has been established. We take great joy in hearing stories and memories of our patients. It really helps us to get a fuller understanding of who this person was. Reading through the tributes that have followed Bill's obituary, I was very amazed at the reputation Bill had among those who knew him. If I could sum up all of these comments, I would say that Bill will be remembered as a good-natured, hard-working, friendly, and caring person. Here are some of those tributes. He touched many with his indomitable spirit in the face of his illness. He showed us how to live and appreciate what we are given. He achieved much during his lifetime. He loved facts, figures, and the Green Bay Packers. And one of my favorites, he was my best friend in school. He was my hero for personal strength and resilience. He was a great teacher and storyteller. He was a kind and gentle soul, friendly and caring. He never bothered a soul. He never asked anything of anyone. And those are beautiful tributes of a life very well lived. I think if we went around the room, each of you could share many unique memories of your time with Bill, and we could probably spend quite a bit of time doing that. I know Mrs. Freeman would have many things to share about Bill. So if you do have a chance and an opportunity to speak with her at the end of the service, please do so. Among our staff, among our hospice staff, Bill was legendary for recalling the events of November 22nd, 1963. Anyone? Anyone? Yes. The date of President John F. Kennedy's assassination. And Bill was able to recall at length the detail and the events of that memorable day when he was in grade school so long ago. Earlier in Bill's hospice journey, he and I would have short conversations about historical events. His perfect memory and diverse knowledge was quite impressive. As time went on, Bill requested shorter visits, often telling me, "I'm done now. I want to rest." Even a simple prayer or the Our Father was declined. I never had to guess what Bill was thinking. He was very honest and direct in his communication. Bill was very content to sit in his chair and watch his murder mysteries. And in fact, that became sort of a sacred time for him. And you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he is solving every single one of those mysteries right now in heaven. And Jeopardy! One of our aides thought that Bill could be on that, if Bill could be on that show, he would have won it big. And just, this is an interesting little fact here too, that as I was coming in this room this morning, I was speaking with Bill's cousin, and he was sharing that there was a day that Bill was watching Jeopardy, and a question came up. And the question had to do with some kind of medical procedure, and it was done on the arm of a baseball player, and on it went. And what was the name of that procedure? And Bill knew it. And Bill said, "It's the Tommy John procedure." And I have never heard of that, and I'm sure many of you probably never heard of that either, but Bill knew it. And we know that in addition to that, Bill had many, many other things that were tucked away in that wonderful, big, beautiful brain of his. It was such an amazing thing to be with Bill and hear him recall so many stories and so many events in his life. And I just want to thank you each for being a part of those memories and those stories. One of our aides, Emily, shared this from her time with Bill, and I quote, "He battled every single hurdle life threw at him with more strength and grace than I've ever seen. He always said he had 9 lives, and I think he did." Unquote. Bill was loved by so many, and he will be remembered for the unique gifts that only he could bring into this world. As a chaplain, I like to think that Bill accomplished what God created him to do. He caused us all to think more, to appreciate more, and to love more. In the New Testament, there is a verse in 2 Timothy chapter 4 that says, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Bill, you have fought the good fight with grace and cheerfulness. May your soul rest in peace. Thank you. At this time, we'll have another song. Thank you for that. I now have the honor of welcoming and inviting Bill's sister Jane to come forward and share Bill's eulogy. So Jane, please come forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a few notes stashed away here. My brother was known originally by the name Billy. Then Bill, briefly in grade school, he changed his name to Henry. I remember Mrs. Freeman writing it just naturally on the blackboard, and then he went by Bill. And later on, when he was in Schmidt-Woodland Hills, he preferred to be called William. But whatever name he went by, he was a great guy. Bill was fine when he was born, and he was born in October 1952. As he would often tell you, October 18th, 1952. And he would tell you what the weather was like on that day, and he could tell you every day since. Unfortunately, at Christmas time, he acquired meningitis. with the complications of hydrocephalus and encephalitis. So that meant he was off to University Hospitals and spent many, many weeks there. I have his medical records from 1952 on. I have them all. One of the first records in the hospital, after they made sure that he was going to live and was somewhat comfortable, this is how the doctor described him, quote, plump, pleasant, little redhead, unquote. Now, a few years after that, he was, of course, back in the hospital, and he was receiving speech therapy. And this is a note from his speech therapist, quote, we can do nothing with him. He will only talk about tractors. Driving tractors was one or two of his favorite childhood memories that he talked about a lot. And he did drive a tractor, only a John Deere, of course. And he not only could get up on a tractor and drive it, he could also drive that John Deere pulling a baler and the hay rack. And that is no easy trick. Now, a little bit later, he was allowed to drive a car down in one of our flat fields. And our parents never had anything automatic, so you're talking shifting, etc. I went on a few wild rides with him. He liked to circle around, do a figure eight. So it was fun, but a little concerning. He never did drive on a highway, and he was not able to have a driver's license, but that didn't stop him from driving in the fields. I'm very glad that Sylvia is here, Sylvia Crary Schmitz, because she reminded me of a memory not too long ago, which is now very clear in my mind. We were probably 3.5, maybe 4, but we wanted to get a better look at this plump little kid in his crib. So we climbed up the side of it, tipped it all over. We're on the floor, the mattresses are on top of us, and the plump little fellow is on top of the mattresses. Luckily, no harm was done. Now, a few years after that, Bill would practice walking in what came to our house from our great uncle, Jess Stoddard. He had carved a walking contraption that we put by the dining room windows, and Bill could get in it and kind of hold on to it, and he had braces on his feet, and that's where he first started taking a few steps with support, which was nice, except he didn't like it. He called it his jail. Please get me out of that jail. But he did begin walking, and if he were here, he would tell you the exact day, the number of steps, and the room in which he was in at the farm. I don't have all of those details written down, but the room was Grandma's room, Grandma Nee's room. And he was a little bit unstable, but he did quite well. He was never able to, and he was about 5 when that happened, he was never able to run or balance like getting up and off a curb. But none of that stopped him. One of his favorite things as a child was to play basketball, and a hoop was added to the barn, and he would shoot hoops by the hour. In high school, oh, I forgot to mention grade school. He had 8 great years in grade school and loved Mrs. Freeman, and he loved participating in everything. Now, his class was not huge. It was Bill, and Eunice Crary was here, and Sandy Kintz.
And I'm here.
They are here. For a brief time, Jim Hurlitz was in their class, and Jim wrote a wonderful tribute saying, Bill was my best friend. I have memories of Jim coming to the farm, holding hands with Bill to help him balance. And one day they told me they were going exploring in the cornfield across the road. And they did, but they didn't come back. And they didn't come back. So eventually I found them, and they were totally lost, which was easy to do in a big cornfield. But they had a great adventure. So Jim was with them for a few years. at school. I don't remember exactly how many, but in high school, after grade school, those three went off to high school. He was in the class of 71. In high school, there's an example of how one person can change your life, and that person in our high school was Mr. Ed Cochran. I had him for English, I think pretty new into his career. Sylvia and I were in the class of 67. But Mr. Cochran recognized how much he liked sports. Couldn't participate, but how much he liked them. So, got him managing everything, and Bill received 2 letters. That's what he to do. He was the manager of the basketball team, the football team.
Track. He did stats for track.
And he did really well. Now, he went on to work on these same things at Southwest Tech, but I came across something I didn't know. This is 1981. This is from Southwest Tech. He managed the wrestling team. So, he did a lot of different things. He loved sports, and it was Mr. Ed Cochran that got him working in sports in high school. And that really was important to him because he was a statistician, and numbers always were number one in his head. He could figure out anything. So from high school, he went on to Southwest Tech in Fenimore. He was there from 1971 to 1973, where he earned a degree in business, again, with a lot of numbers. And there are people here from Fenimore, and I appreciate them being here. He roomed with Keith and Sandy Stender, and without them, his life would not have been as easy at Fenimore. But a person at Fenimore, his name is Jack Strobel, and he and I have been in contact about 5 times this past week. Always kept in contact over the years. Jack Strobel. He was on the faculty at Fenimore, and as Bill said, Mr. Strobel is the one who gave me my break. He gave me my break. He encouraged him to apply for a job at Southwest Tech, which Bill did. And Bill was a prolific letter writer. I got letters from him all the time, even if I'd just seen him 2 days before. And one of them said, I've applied for the job. I'm hoping. The second letter was, I got it. And then he went on to say how much he was going to earn per hour, what the federal tax would be, Wisconsin tax, what the net amount would be, what the bottom line would be, and how he would organize his taxes. But Jack Strobel said to me this past week, and this is what I want to share, quote, I felt a special connection with Bill. He was a nice, tenacious man with a special place in my heart, unquote. He did a lot for Bill and made a huge difference in his life. He was the game room manager for a while, and then after that worked in the maintenance department. He loved his job. He walked to and from. Even if there was a blizzard, he would walk there to find it was closed. Walk back. It wasn't for a lack of people offering him a ride. I got a note from a lady today saying, I would see him, I would stop, he wouldn't get in, I would get out and tell him, I'm totally Irish, you may be part Irish, get in my car. So, I don't know the end of the story, whether he got in or not. Now, one of his supervisors at Fenimore was Dennis Risch. And Denny told me one day, Bill liked working for him, and Denny told me one day, quote, if everybody worked up to their potential like Bill, this world would have no problems, unquote. Bill enjoyed everything about his job. Now, also in Fenimore, every Saturday he would walk to the library and he would read. He was a great reader. He would read a lot of newspapers, but the most important one was the Wall Street Journal. He loved investing in stocks. And you could ask him any day of the week what stock he had. He would be able to tell you what the price of it was that day. He'd be able to tell you how much he earned that year. And he could also tell you he didn't spend a penny of it. So, but numbers were always at the top of his list. Now, everything wasn't always easy for Bill, and he had never been declared disabled, ever. So I started that process in 1999. And at that time, he was 99 minus 52, 47 years old. Anyway, when I picked up the papers, the officer said, well, Bill, why are you applying for disability now? You never said you were before, so why are you doing it at this age? I thought that was rather harsh. Anyway, if you've ever been through this process, you get denied, you appeal, you get denied again, you appeal. And then at that point, all of my records from 1952 on, letters from Dr. Berman's Iskandar, his neurosurgeon, letters from the orthopedic department at UW, didn't mean a thing. So they assign you a doctor. So off we go to Dubuque. The doctor's in Dubuque. So Bill and I go, and the first part of it went fairly well, and then they get to the part about who's president, what month it is, blah, blah, blah. No problems there. Then the doctor asked him to count backwards from 100 by 7. Now, I could do that if I thought. He raced through that like nothing. The doctor almost fell off his chair. He said, I never in my career have had a patient who could do that. Again, it was his brain and his ability to handle numbers. Well, we eventually got it, and then I went on to apply for a disability via the state pension. They wouldn't accept the first one that we got, so the whole process starts again. This one stayed in Wisconsin, only 2 or 3 doctors, and took a while. But by this time, of course, my files are like this high. And I'm really getting a little head up, because the next thing on our docket was to go to Platteville and apply and get a ID. Because at that time, he never had a driver's license, so when he went to vote, etc., now he needed an ID. I had every item on that list and more. I had my files, and I was ready for this next battle. So off to Platteville we go. And we hadn't done much business there, didn't know a lot of people there. Get into the office, our appointed time. The receptionist says, well, hi, Bill. The person came, well, hi, Bill. And the third person now, well, I've known you forever. They signed that sheet with no problems. The first person knew him from Southwest Tech. The second person knew him from a cattle deal from our farm decades ago. And the third person knew him from Fenimore. And so we got it. At that point, he had an identification. So then, over those years and those decades, he spent a lot of time living in Fort Atkinson with me. And I so appreciate everybody from Fort Atkinson that's here. Thank you guys so much for coming. We spent a lot of time with Bradshaws, their daughter Anna and Lizzie, best friends, laughing away, and enjoyed life there and had a good time. Decade. Christmas, Thanksgiving, some nice Thanksgiving pictures out there. Summers, it all went well, 99% of the time. But it wasn't all peaches and cream. One day, I'm at work, and my daughters call me and say, we haven't seen Uncle Bill for quite some time. We think he's locked in the bathroom upstairs. Well, I rushed home from work. Yes, indeed, he was in there. And not standing up, I might add. But he had been there a little while by this time. This is an old house. This is on the second floor. So 911. And it's a hot day, like 105 degrees, and the street in front of us is ripped up, and so it's a little tricky even getting there. But the police arrived first, a rescue squad, ambulance, a lot of groups. And they couldn't get them out. They were hacking away. They had saws, they had hammers, etc. Old house, deadlock in there. And they said, oh, we think we may have to call the fire department, keep them, in case we need a huge ladder to get up, second story, break the window, get in, and get them out that way. Well, one of the people working on the outside of the door, by that time he was so hot, he said, I'm leaving. So, and they brought another guy in from the rescue squad. So anyway, they hacked away and and finally got through and got the door off and the frame off and got him. And 4 men and a stretcher carried him downstairs in the ambulance off to the hospital with him yelling, "I'm fine, I'm fine." Well, he may have been fine, but I wasn't. So off to the hospital, ER, checked out, and he really was okay, just a few bumps and bruises. So the next day, I borrowed a wheelchair from the facility in which I worked and took him to a baseball game in Milwaukee, which he enjoyed. That was very, very nice. But the following week, much to my daughter's dismay, both of them are here today, we took up most of the police blotter. Big part of the police blotter. They had my name, my address, saying, "Brother locks himself in the bathroom." Then they listed every city department that it took to get him out of that bathroom. So we had a few incidents, but even when he'd tip over, later on when he had a scooter and would tip over, and people would always come to my rescue to get him off. But he's always yelling, "I'm fine, I'm fine." So eventually, though, he couldn't live independently in Fenimore anymore. So in 2001, he entered Good Samaritan Assisted Living, which was very good. He had a great time. He had a good time there. It went well. And he didn't want to quit working even though his job had ended at Southwest Tech. So I enrolled him in the sheltered workshop in Lancaster. Now most people, and he liked it, he worked 3 days a week for several years. I was so glad when he retired because he liked his job and it was fine, but he was the most physically disabled person there, and it was no one's fault, but he would get knocked over now and again. And off to the ER, "I'm fine, I'm fine." But anyway, he retired. And most people going to those jobs would complain about the long bus ride, say from Fenimore over to Lang. He'll go through Stitzer and, all these little towns. Not Bill. He loved the bus driver. He sat right up next to him every ride and loved every town and gave every statistic about that town to the bus driver. So that worked out really, really well. And then in 2015, that facility closed, 2015. So that's when he moved to Schmidt. So he had many fine years here, first in assisted living and then in the nursing home. Now I'll just end on this. I have heard from a lot of people this week. His GP in Port Atkinson, a doctor from University Hospitals, but one that really touched me, Dr. Stater from Fenimore. And any of you here from Fenimore, Dr. Stater is always referred to as the young Dr. Stater. So there were 2 of them. But he said, I quote, "I had the great privilege of knowing him when he was in Good Sam. He was smart and had a great sense of humor," unquote. And it kind of wraps up what most people felt about Bill. But I was so pleased to have these doctors contact me all these decades. And Dr. Stater and I have had many personal conversations this week, and I just appreciate all of the wonderful things he had to say about him. He went out of his way to help him. He did a great, great job. And with that, I'll hand it over to my sister Harriet, and I will sit down. I did that without glasses. I recommend cataracts.
This will be short. First of all, I want to thank my sister Jane for all that she's done for Bill over the years. I want to thank my brother Michael, who, since he retired from the Botanical Gardens in New York City, has visited Bill every day that he's been here, unless he's out of town. I want to thank him. I want to thank my parents, who did so much for Bill. And Mrs. Freeman related a story the other day that I didn't know. The first day that my mother brought Bill to Pine River School to go up the back steps, Bill couldn't climb them, and he turned around to crawl. And Mrs. Freeman said that my mother had tears running down her cheeks. And Mrs. Freeman said, "I told your mother
we'll take care of him. He'll be okay. And he was. And she did. I really want to thank him. And I want to thank all of the family members that have helped out. As a young boy, Bill was a year and a half younger than me. I tried to teach him a few things growing up. When we were little, I tried teaching him to play the piano. It didn't work out very well. I wasn't a good piano player, particularly myself, but he had no interest. And then I tried to teach him to play ball, and that worked. He'd stand there and I'd pitch a ball and he'd bat it and we'd eventually get it together. A little bit of throwing the ball back and forth, and that worked. So my first teaching that I went on to teach for 41 years. Determination. Bill was determined, and he wrote a 5-page transcript for consideration as publication material in your magazine, The Success Unlimited, out of Wabash, 425 Wabash Street, Chicago, Illinois. And in it, he wrote about when he got a basketball hoop on the barn. My dad put one up, as Jane had said, on the barn. And he wrote this in 1980, and he started working in 1973. And from that point, there was like 6.5 years, he'd shot 20,000 basketball shots. So that was pretty darn good. And well, he did that as a kid. I kind of have that a little mixed up there. It's when he was a kid, 1963 to onward. He had shot, I have that a little mixed up with my years. He's very determined, and that was part of his life. He was a good citizen. He wrote in here in high school, at noontime, you know, many students from Mission Center High School, we ate and then we went out to the Hornet Hive. And I know it was probably a lonely time for him if he didn't have anybody to eat with. So he said he'd go out in the Hornet Hive and kids would make baskets with their trash and so forth. He said they usually miss. So he went and cleaned it up. He did that on his own, and he got a good citizenship award for that. And that was the kind of person he was. And he also wrote in here that, this is where I'm getting my years right now, from 1973 to 1980, he had 1973 to 1980, he had only missed 11 hours of work. And he wrote in here, I didn't want to miss work because I didn't want my employers to have to pay overtime for somebody else. I didn't want them to have to find somebody else. And that's just a good person that he was. He didn't want to bother anybody. He wanted to be there and do his job. And he did do his job all the way until now. And we're hoping that he's running and jumping up in heaven. And that's what we hope. Thank you.
Swing low, sweet chariot.
Thank you for that lovely music, very meaningful songs. Thank you so much. And it was a blessing to hear from Jane and her sister. Thank you, both of you, for sharing about Bill's history and the stories and just the kind of person he was. Again, it means a lot to me to have his life filled out by those stories and those memories. Before I begin to close our time together this morning, I wanted to share Psalm 23 with you. And many of you are probably familiar with this psalm. It is one that many people know, and it is one that brings comfort to so many. It is what I call the Good Shepherd Psalm. And it is the psalm that is spoken of as that mentions God as our shepherd, which also implies that we are his sheep. As I recite the words of Psalm 23, I would invite you just to imagine Bill as one of his sheep, one of his dear little sheep, and also yourselves as lambs of God, as those who he cares for and holds in his everlasting arms. So here is the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul and guides me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. And please join me for a closing prayer. Oh God, your word says the eternal God is our refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. Thank you for holding, guiding, and providing for Bill all the days of his life. May he rest in your everlasting and eternal arms. Comfort all who grieve and assure us of your loving presence now and always. Amen. Thank you all for being here. Peace be with all of you. The family of Bill Nee would like to invite all of you now to a luncheon that will be taking place just in the adjacent hallway here. So please enjoy each other's fellowship and enjoy the memories that you share about Bill. Thank you for being here today.